Here with Reaction 2024, Republican candidate for president, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and Texas Congressman Chip Roy, both live from Iowa. You know, Governor DeSantis, so you send these illegal migrants from Florida to New York City because you're told it's a sanctuary city jurisdiction, and then the sanctuary mayor says we can't provide sanctuary.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I think the left got on this horse because they were trying to oppose everything Trump was doing back in 2016, who was pledging a border wall and border security. And so they tied themselves up into saying that they should just have an open border. When faced with the realities of that, whether it's Martha's Vineyard, whether it's New York City, whether it's Chicago, Los Angeles, they want nothing to do with the effects of an open border. The fact of the matter is you have major Democrats in this country now acknowledging you cannot have an open border. You cannot have 9 million people, 8 million people come in a 3-year period. We don't know who they are. They're imposing burdens on society, criminal aliens, fentanyl, the whole 9 yards. This is probably, and you've pointed out, Biden's doing very poorly, but of all the things he's done, this may be the biggest dereliction of duty. He has not satisfied his oath of office as president of the United States to keep this country safe.
There's no doubt about it. You know, Congressman Roy, your Governor Abbott, he also sent illegal migrants from Texas around the country. Do you think it was the actions of Governor DeSantis, you're sitting by, and Governor Abbott that finally forced mayors like Mayor Adams to call out the federal government and saying, you know, you're not doing your job?
Yeah, Kayleigh, I think that's right. I mean, last September, it was the actions of Governor DeSantis, who I'm proud to be sitting next to, and Governor Abbott, that I think saved the elections for House Republicans. I think we have a majority in the House because of their leadership. And importantly, what we're seeing at the border right now, with 300,000 encounters in November, December is on track for 300,000. That's 10,000 a day. For that perspective, Jay Johnson said 1,000 a day was a crisis under President Obama. This is exacting an enormous toll on Texans. I had 6 kids in the school district in which my wife and my family and I live, 6 kids who died last year from fentanyl poisoning. Ranches getting overrun, Texas dying from fentanyl poisoning. Americans are feeling it across the country. And the fact is, we have a solution. House Republicans passed H.R. 2, a strong border security bill. The key is we need to force getting it passed and force the president to sign it. And if he won't do it, we need to an elected president who will actually sign that into law, unlike President Trump, who in 2018 was siding with Paul Ryan to try to pass an amnesty first rather than border security first bill, which left us with the situation we're facing right now.
You know, Governor DeSantis, you're both in Iowa. You've made it to all 99 counties there in Iowa. You're currently in second place in the polls. Governor, you're behind Donald Trump by 30 points. I understand not a single vote's been cast. Your reaction to the latest polling?
Well, what we're doing, Kayleigh, a caucus is different than a normal vote in the sense of it's a process. You got to be there for a few hours. So what we do is we accumulate people that commit to caucus for us. We have tens of thousands of people in the hopper. We're adding more every day. We just finished a great event with Chip Roy, Governor Kim Reynolds, who's endorsed me, my wife, Casey. We're bringing more people onto the fold. So that's how you have to do it. And I think that's why the polling typically hasn't predicted the results, because it's trying to measure something that's just different. So going all 99 counties is the right way to do it, showing up in these communities. And when you do that, when they're able to hear you and ask you questions, that's when they commit to caucus for you. So we're excited about where we are. I think we have a better head of steam than the previous winners of the caucus. And I thank for having people like Chip on board that are stirring the pot out here for us.
Yeah,
Congressman
Kayleigh,
Roy,
if I might
you're
add
in
on that
Iowa,
on the polling.
as I understand. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, on the polling point, right? Look, the polls are supposed to reflect public opinion, not shape it. That's the reality. And what's going to decide this election are the people on the ground, not polls, the people in Iowa. That's the beauty of our process, right? We're for principles, not princes. We don't coronate anybody. We don't let polls decide. It's the American people through this process and the people of Iowa who take it very seriously. It's awesome. It's a great experience. My kids are out here. They said, Dad, this is kind of like a congressional race. In other words, they thought it would be bigger, and they're like, no, you're out shaking hands, meeting with people. The governor's been to 99 counties. He's absolutely killing it, outworking everybody, being out here in Iowa, and that's the process that will actually, I think, send the right candidate to be the Republican nominee, and that's Governor DeSantis.
And Congressman, you're taking your holiday break. You're in Iowa Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from what I understand. What are you seeing on the ground as you travel around with Governor DeSantis?
Well, I'm seeing an enormous amount of enthusiasm. It's great to be here. We met with a great group here as Republican women. They're the backbone of the Republican activists out there. We've got a great tour over the next few days. My friend Thomas Massey was out here Saturday. They had some great events, great enthusiasm. Look, people are thirsty for a new generation, a new vision, looking forward, not looking backwards. Somebody who can serve for 8 years, somebody who won his election in Florida by an enormous margin, 1.5 million votes, won 62% of Hispanic voters, 50% of single female voters. They don't want an election that's close where you're counting ballots singular. They want to win by an overwhelming margin and take their country back. They're enthusiastic for Governor DeSantis.
Governor DeSantis, final question for you. I mean, you've been there a ton, Iowa, all over. What's the number one issue you're hearing from voters when you travel around?
Well, when we started the process, I would have said economy clear 1, border clear number 2. Now I would say economy is 1A and border is 1B. I think people are seeing the effects of the border. We just did a ride along with a sheriff and sheriff department in Wayne County, which is a rural county in Iowa. They are seeing impacts from the narcotics that are coming in. So every community has become a border community under Joe Biden. You run into angel parents in all corners of this country now who have lost kids to fentanyl. And a lot of times these are kids that are not addicted to drugs. Maybe they took one pill, think it was something else. It's laced with fentanyl, and they get poisoned to death. So we have tens of thousands of deaths every year. Joe Biden doesn't seem to care about that. The elites in D.C. don't seem to care about it. And I think when you talk to Iowans, as well as people in New Hampshire and other early states, there's the sense that's accurate that the people who are running this government do not care about the people that they were elected to serve. We need to change that, and 2024 gives us an opportunity to do so.
Well, Governor DeSantis, Congressman Roy, thank you from Iowa, and Merry Christmas to you both.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.